This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News, joined by Eddie Hearn for the second time today.
Two in a day.
I feel like this is a treat. This is.
Time for you, boy.
It's only taken me 10 years.
Yeah, well done.
Eddie, here we are, Boots and Benn. Neither of them are the biggest talkers. That's what they've left for you to do. But does it frustrate you at all that they're not maybe a bit more forthcoming with their words?
Really? I mean, everyone's different, aren't they? I mean, when you listen to Ray Ford and Orlando Gonzalez go at it in a head-to-head, they can do some talking. Tito Mercado can do some talking. You're not going to see, like, you know, especially with two guys that speak limited English, but what you're going to see is a brilliant fight between Bam and Guevara. This kid can really fight. Just beat Andrew Maloney, in Australia. Great away win. He's interim world champion. He's the mandatory challenger. Every fight in that division is a war. And I think this Chukhadzhian fight is going to be a much better fight this time around. He has no choice but to come to fight. And I think Boots is going to put in a great performance. The undercard is sensational. Ray Ford against Orlando Gonzalez, brilliant fight. Khalil Ko is a monster at 175 pounds. Great fight against Gallegos. Tito Mercado against Saracho. Watch that fight, a Mexican war. And Amo Williams, Zaquin Moses. This is the very best of American talent on Saturday night.
When the IBF ordered the rematch, Eddie, at what point does he have to become where maybe a bit of common sense needs to prevail there? Because obviously it was a very dominant performance from Boots first time around. Was there a sense of frustration on your own behalf as well? Because you've signed a 3-fight deal and one of those fights is a rematch which nobody was calling for.
Of course, because it cost me a load of money. But what are you going to do about it? Sulk? I mean, it's the rules. On one hand, I really admire the IBF for sticking by their rules. On the other hand, it frustrates the life out of me that they don't apply common sense to this situation. We wanted more time to make the Brian Norman fight or a unification fight. We run out of time. We had a purse bid. It was either lose your belt or fight Chukhadzhian. I said to Boots, you tell me what you want to do, mate. I'll back you 100%. If I've got to stick the money up for this fight, I'll stick the money up because it's part of a long-term plan. You're going to be ruling this sport for a long time. He said, I want the belts at 147. I said, then let's fight him. Get it done. I'm going to build a massive card. Let's make it happen. So we did it. And on Saturday night, I think you get a good fight.
On the theme of both the Brian Norman Jr and the Mario Barrios offers, what can you tell me? And were they just straight up rejected or were they not even responded to?
Look, the Brian Norman was out of his depth. That's the reality. And he never really had a chance to think about it or think smart. They turned it down, then they came back. Then they came back with a silly number. Then they came back sort of half thinking, we've dropped the ball here. You know, it was a mess. Stanionis and Barrios. Barrios has a fight coming up next week. Stanionis, like these guys, the promoters are not going to be able to service these guys. They have to be. Is that toast I can smell?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
I really fancy a bit of toast, to be honest with you. And they're going to have to chase guys like Boots for the big money shot. So I hope that people have the appetite to try and fight him. But he's really, really good. And I get as well at the same time, sometimes people don't want to fight him because he's so good. So let's see what happens tomorrow night, but we want those big unifications. Difficult
to get those unifications because those fighters that we've mentioned aren't on your side of the wall?
Because they can't service them. Like, you know, Gearsov's got to fight Stanionis now. Hopefully Gearsov can win. But again, like, it's Stanionis. It's difficult, you know, outside of Riyadh season. Where are you going to find the big paydays for him? And he's not going to get the call for Riyadh season. So we want to do Stanionis. We want to do, hopefully, Gearsov. We want to do Brian Norman. We want to do Barrios. And, you know, we got to make it happen.
I know he wants for unifications, but Oscar's clapped back Thursday of a 5 versus 5, or in his case, 6 versus 6. Want to see yourself and him as the headline event there. Do you think it's possible, him versus Ortiz?
Listen, we're in for that fight. I've already spoken about that fight with His Excellency before. We will 100% fight Virgil Ortiz. Shakur against Zepeda. Done. Catterall against the winner of Barboza and Ramirez. Done. Devin Haney against Oscar Duarte. We don't represent Devin Haney. We have a great relationship with him, but he's out of contract with us. I'm happy with that fight. So if Devin's happy with that fight, done. Munguia against Pacheco. Oh, I want that fight so bad. Munguia's left Golden Boy. He's gone to Top Rank. If they can bring him back, let's make it happen. I'm all in for a 5v5 with Oscar. I phoned Eric Gomez after that clapback. I said, let's make it happen. This is a massive 5v5 as well. And it's a great night for fight fans around the world. If Oscar's truly about making great competitive matchups, and I know he likes to say, oh, matchroom fighters keep losing. I'll tell you what, let's see how Golden Boy fighters get on in that lineup. because you will find very quickly when you actually put your guys in real fights, they will get beat. And they could lose 5-0 in that matchup.
Do you think one of their fighters loses to Chris Billum-Smith?
No. No. And by the way, let's do Zerdo against Opatai. He didn't mention that, by the way, because he knows.
Eddie, Ray Ford and Khalil Coe, with Ray Ford especially, 130 division, you had O'Shaki Foster reclaim his WBC title last week.
Ray Ford. It's a great fight. Lamont Roach against Ray Ford, O'Shaki Foster against Ray Ford, Sugar Nunes against Ray Ford. Like, Kakachi's going to... Like, this is the problem. You know, you talk about matchups, Nunes against Kakachi, that's a guaranteed point for Matchroom. But Kakachi's going to vacate. It's really disappointing. And you can say, oh, it's not a big fight, come on. Like, it's a great fight. But when Nunes wins that belt, Ray Ford told me today, I want Sugar Nunes. That's an incredible fight. Khalil Coe, if he gets through Gallegos, like, you know, Khalil Coe against Craig Richards, Conor Wallace, Lyndon Arthur, Willie Hutchinson, all of those fights. This is a really exciting time. I'm looking around those tables and I'm thinking, fuck me. Excuse my language. Your stable is red hot, particularly in the northeast of America. But particularly in America now, we know worldwide we're untouchable, but in America now, our stable is unbelievable.
Do you feel like you're really starting to bear the fruits of the rewards from when you signed the Ray Fords, the Pachecos, the Khalil Coes those years ago, Amma Williams as well?
Of course, and it takes time. You've got to stay consistent. If you do the right things and you're very good at what you do and you stay consistent, you will get there. And that's what's happening in America now. Like, we are number one in America, no doubt, and we're going to go from strength to strength. And you will see on Saturday night the product of what we have in America. Sensational fighters.
Just want to get a few other things up to date as well, Eddie. We spoke earlier about the AJ Dubois fight. Spoke to Frank Smith as well. There's been talks about AJ carrying a few injuries. What can you tell me on that from what actual injuries? Yeah.
Minor, but just things that mean you can't start camp. You know, I'm not going to go into what's what, but nothing. AJ gets niggles in all camps, right? He had niggles in that camp. Nothing that affects his prep. His prep was bang on. He was looking great. In the fight, don't forget, it was a heavy knockout with knockdowns, and in the fight aggravated a few things of no major, but he's just not ready to start training camp. He has to start training camp basically now or next week, and he wants to do it, and he told us he's going to do it. And there comes a time you have to say to the fighter, you can't afford to go into that fight unless you're 100%, and we're not going to take a risk at this stage in his career to go into a fight at 70 or 80%. It's not worth it. So we'll fight Dubois next in May or June, and if not, we'll fight Tyson Fury.
Conor Benn's teamed up with Keith Connolly. What can you tell me about that, Eddie?
Yeah, Keith, I believe he's going to be on the advisory team for Conor. Great relationship with Keith through, you know, Danny Jacobs, Edgar Berlanga, Khalil Coe, Mark Castro, and the list goes on and on. So, you know, some big decisions to be made for Conor Benn coming up, and we've got to make sure as a team we make the right decisions for the next one.
So he'll come in an advisory position. Is Charlie Sims still involved?
Yeah, I believe so, with Tony, and obviously we've got a team. You know, it's great to have some good minds as part of the team, and Keith Connolly knows the business inside out. And as we look as well to see Conor Benn expand into the US market as well, you know, we'll need that bit of advice as well.
I've had a chance to ask earlier already, but the board are yet to comment on the outcome of the result. Can you tell us anything about what the British Boxing Board of Control had to say from the NADP's decision?
I haven't spoken to him, no. I had no idea.
When will you speak to him in terms of trying to get him re-licensed?
No, I mean, I don't know the procedure now. Obviously, he's no longer suspended. He's cleared to fight. So we'll go back, apply for that licence. I would think that there's a real understanding from everybody of like, come on, let's get to work now. And that's the plan.
Surprised you they haven't commented? Because initially, obviously, Robert Smith had done a number of interviews around it all.
No, I think that, you know, they've got this period, I think, of appeal. I don't know if you had, but I think, to be honest with you, I think everyone's had enough and just wants to get on with it. So I'm sure they'll comment in due course.
I haven't had a chance to speak to you since Shabazz Masoud's fantastic performance versus Liam Davies.
It was absolutely buzzing. I mean, I really liked that fight from the start. You know, when we signed Shabazz, I've got to be honest with you, Ben Davies kind of talked me into signing Shabazz. I hadn't seen a lot of him. I know he'd stopped, mine's gone, Black Bateson. And Ben said to me, Ed, I'm telling you, this kid's really good. And then we signed him and he boxed San Martin. He really didn't look that good. But he'd been inactive for quite a long time. And I was like, Ben, and he went, I'm telling you, stick with him, this kid can fight. He had the little warm-up, which I think really helped him, and then a fantastic performance against Liam Davies. I mean, I've told the IBO, you need to get rid of that judge. That's absolutely shocking. I scored the fight 9-3 to Liam Davies. If it's 8-4, to Shabazz, if it's 8-4, it's being super generous to Liam Davies. To score that fight 7-5, like, how do you find 7 rounds for Liam Davies in that fight? And it's going to end up ruining the career of a fighter. You know, it didn't, and we saw it, you know, of course, in the Bivol fight, but we saw it as well in a Jack Catchell fight. And sometimes, obviously, when you win, you don't, like, if we would have lost on Saturday, oh my God, you wouldn't have stopped hearing from me. And obviously, I've got Regis and I've got Jack, but those scorecards were atrocious as well. How difficult is it? And on a fight that's so clear as well. But great performance from Shabazz. We feel like we've got a real star there. We want to take him back to Stoke in 2025 and really looking forward to his future.
We had a brief chat off camera earlier about Birmingham, and tickets seem to be flying out the window.
Really good, really good. We're through 6,000 now in Birmingham. I'm hoping to get through 7,000 as well. That's what we need in that city. Do you know what I mean? Like, fighters have always sold a lot of tickets there. You know, you've got so many fighters shifting so many tickets. And my advice to fighters is keep selling tickets, because you keep selling tickets, you're going to keep getting opportunities, right? And now what we're seeing in Birmingham is the box office is moving. It's selling. And we're going to have a great crowd November 30th. It's an unbelievable card and a big name to be added to that card still next week.
No hints for me?
No, but a massive British boxing name. So congratulations if you've already bought a ticket.
And I just want to get your thoughts as well on Joe Cordina's recent comments that after the Shakur Stevenson fight fell through, nobody from Matchroom, whether it be yourself or Frank Smith, reached out to him to let him know that the fight wasn't going ahead. He found out on social media, and then he messaged Spencer Brown, who wasn't aware himself, so he said that he had to chase it as well.
Spencer Brown Spencer Brown is advising Joe Cordina. Joe Cordina is not under contract to Matchroom. We love Joe Cordina. I want to continue working for him. He got an opportunity to fight Shakur Stevenson. The fight fell through. Spencer was made aware of that. I think the problem is I probably should have called Joe as well. I just presumed that his team would let him know. But again, that's by the by. In terms of not hearing from us, we probably need a conversation to establish if we're going to work together moving forward, which we'd love to do. But we don't have. You know, Spencer is advising him. I'm talking to Spencer. Sometimes, you know, when you've got an advisor or you've got a team, a lot of that conversation goes on that way. At the moment, you know, the money that Joe Cordina wants, and rightfully so, because he's made a nice few quid and he wants big fights, isn't available right now for those fights. The Shakur Stevenson rematch isn't there. You know, we tried to make the Sam Noakes fight. He's gone another direction. But the plan is to land Joe the biggest fight possible for the most amount of money. Sometimes when you do that, they're either not there or they take a little bit longer than anticipated. So we'll speak to Spencer and we'll go from there.
Is he a free agent now?
Yes.
Well, Eddie, listen, I appreciate your time. No Q's form, so thanks for speaking to me.
Cheers, thanks.